Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Bonds with the public speaking class at Persuasive State Community College. Thank you for listening to me this afternoon. I wanted to talk with you about the power of positive reinforcement in child rearing. Children should be disciplined. And so we're going to examine different types of discipline, and we're going to talk about what I think, which is that families should adopt positive reinforcement as the preferred discipline in their homes. And that brings us to the age-old question, to spank or not to spank. Cindy Miller Perrin is a PhD in clinical psychology from Washington State University. She is currently the Distinguished Professor of Psychology at Pepperdine University, and she's worked extensively with maltreated children and their families. She describes physical punishment of children as any punishment in which physical force is used and intended to cause some degree of pain or discomfort. Perry did a study and found the information on the United Nations Committee on the Rights of a Child Treaty, which was adopted in 1989. In that treaty, it prohibits all acts of mental or physical violence from member nations of the UN. 196 countries are party to this treaty, including every member of the UN except the United States. How many of you have ever been spanked or worse? Well, when I was a little girl growing up, my mama used to switch on me. And that meant I had to go out and pull a limb off of a little tree in the yard. She never hit me with her hand. She never slapped me. But she shamed me a lot. My dad didn't discipline me at all. My mama had me scared to death of him. If I misbehaved, she'd say, "You better straighten up, or I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell your daddy what you're doing." And all he had to do was look at me hard, and I would run from the room crying. So I knew that I didn't know what he was going to do, but I sure didn't want to find out. So my little children, when I came along, I had 2 daughters in my first marriage before I was 20 years old. And we spanked them all the time. We were independent Baptists, and in Protestant homes then, the Bible said, and it still does, spare the rod and spoil the child. So we thought it was biblical to do that. I used shame a lot too. In my second marriage, I was 34 when my son was born. By that time, I had learned about positive reinforcement. He never had a spanking in his life. He sat in time out quite a few times, but it just was a difference of night and day in raising the first 2 children in him. And he has had far less problem as an adult than his sisters have had, and his self-esteem has always been high, and self-esteem is an issue that they have dealt with their whole lives. There have been numerous studies that show physical punishment does more harm than good. One of the ongoing studies is being piloted by Eric Hendrickson, a faculty member in the UC Davis Medical Center's Department of Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation and the Center for Child and Family Studies. The CCFS is a more positive approach is to look at the word discipline, that its root meanings are instruction or training. So they stress behavioral problems and the handling of them through these steps to maintain age-appropriate expectation for children's behavior and establish simple rules for expectations. Help children verbalize their feelings, their frustrations, and their concerns. And discipline and guidance should always be positive, productive, and immediate when behavior is inappropriate. Barbara Howard is a doctor, a pediatrician in Baltimore, Maryland, and she received her medical degree from Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine, and she's been in practice for more than 20 years. She stresses that one of the most effective forms of disciplines to change any degree of childhood behavior is the timeout chair. And warning before the timeout chair plays a big part in that. In conclusion, we discipline the way our parents disciplined us. And positive reinforcement is the preferred style of discipline of children. Physical and mental punishment lead to low self-esteem, shyness, fear to share true feelings, shame, and a distorted view of life in general. Positive reinforcement teaches children how to verbalize their feelings, their frustrations, and their concerns. Discipline and guidance should always be positive, productive, and immediate. And look carefully at the choices you make for discipline with your children. It will shape the future of that child and, in turn, the face of the country. Thank you for listening to me today.